Welcome back, Giants fans. We are going to talk about day 2 of the NFL draft and even day 3 because I am doing this on Saturday morning. I was going to do it on Friday night, but I was just dead tired because I stayed up too late on Thursday, as you know. So, yeah, we're going to do the entire draft, but right now, day 3 is not over yet. I don't think the Giants even picked yet in day 3, so I'll record the first part of this video now, put the second part in later. Boom, full video. So there we go. Anyway, the Giants had a great day too, and I think the first 3 picks they've made are perfect. Even like Mel Kiper said, the 3 guys the Giants took are top 75 players, which is amazing value. So of course Deonte Banks was day 1. Traded up 1 pick to get him, but great corner in my opinion. I love that pick. Day 2, you have Michael Schmitz out of Minnesota, the center, and Jalen Hyatt, wide receiver, out of Tennessee. And they both fit great needs for the Giants. The Giants, of course, have not had a good center in God knows how long. Last year with John Feliciano was not very fun. Nick Gates coming back from the very serious injury. He wasn't bad, but wasn't great either. And I've been going over this, the last time the Giants had a good center was probably Weston Richburg for that 1 year, maybe 1 year and a half. So it's been a while, and honestly, this was something the Giants needed, and Michael Schmitz can arguably be the best center in this class, so I'm definitely a big fan of it, and we'll go more in depth on him in a bit. Jalen Hyatt, the Giants traded up to get him. They traded their 89th pick, and I believe their pick number 128, their round 4 pick, to move up to 73 with the Rams to get Jalen Hyatt, the speed threat wide receiver. This Giants offense, I think, may have been dead last, or probably bottom 5. I'm pretty sure it was dead last, though, in big-time passing plays. And, of course, the Giants had some explosive running plays with Daniel Jones' legs and Saquon Barkley's legs. But in terms of passing the ball for explosive plays, the Giants were nowhere to be found. So what better to do than to draft Jalen Hyatt, who is probably the best deep threat in this draft. It's definitely a debate you can have. So Jalen Hyatt may have to learn how to run other routes at a very high level, but in terms of being a burner, this guy is tremendous and fits what the Giants needed last year. So it's exciting. It's an exciting day too. I think the Giants' first 3 picks have been great. Can't really complain. We'll see what happens in day 3. But anyway, let's get into JMS and Jalen Hyatt. All right, so we'll go in order. Michael Schmitz was taken at pick number 57. So not the first center taken. The Jets took Joe Tippmann. They took him 43. 14 picks later, the Giants took Michael Schmitz. And as I said, he was arguably the best center prospect in this draft. He's been playing center for Minnesota since 2020, but really became their full-time guy in 2021. And ever since then, it's he's really good. He's technically sound. He has that wrestling background, of course, understands leverage, can get into the second level. He's a great run blocker, has great hand usage. There's not much bad you can say about Michael Schmitz. I know center's not very exciting. Maybe didn't go higher because he's not an elite athlete, but at center, you can get away with that stuff, and I'm not really too worried about it. But in terms of being the Giants saying is smart, tough, dependable, that's what Michael Schmitz is. So that's very exciting, and I think the Giants hopefully have found their center for a very long time. At least for the next 5 years. And any prospect can bust, I get it, but I think he's one of the safer prospects in this draft. Him and guys like Michael Mayer, I just don't really see a way they fail unless there's some type of, really bad injury, which hopefully Michael Schmitz does avoid. And a lot of times in the Giants running attack last year, the center would get out in space. There was a lot of plays where they would just loop around and have to get into the second level, get to linebackers, get to safeties, and you have to have an athletic center to do that. And I think Michael Schmitz can perfectly fit that. He did compare himself to Ryan Jensen, which is pretty interesting. He did study his tape, and, Ryan Jensen's not one of the best centers of this generation, but he's a very good one. He was very good up until his injury last year. He missed pretty much all of last year, but he plays with nastiness, and Michael Schmitz does the same thing, so that wrestling background, once again, probably comes in there. But, yeah, as I said, not the most exciting pick in the world, but I like it a lot. Looking at some of his stats, this was provided by PFF. He allowed 2 sacks in the past 2 seasons. That's not bad at all. I can't complain about that. His grade was 92.3. That was the best of all centers last season. And he supposedly is like just a great locker room guy too. He's supposed to be one of the guys who's a leader. He'll probably have that captain patch by year 2 if things go well. So yeah, I mean, there's really not many bad things you can say about this pick whatsoever. The Giants have not had a guy at this position in a very long time. So to get this settled in round 2. And the funny thing is, like, he was maybe supposed to go in round 1 to the Giants. A lot of people had that in their mock draft. I know I made a mock draft where I put JMS to the Giants at 25. And for them to get him in round 2, I mean, it's crazy. So, you know, maybe we could thank the Jets just like I know the Jets thanked us for taking Saquon in 2018. They took Sam Darnold. Maybe in the future, we could thank the Jets for taking Joe Tippmann and leaving us with John Michael Schmitz. We'll see how that plays out. But yeah, very happy with that pick, and hopefully for the next decade, the Giants have a really good starting center. In round 3 now, the Giants were supposed to pick at 89, which is pretty far back there. They trade up with the Rams to pick 73. They gave up another 4th rounder to get Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee. So now I want to go over the Giants' weapons because I know weapons was like a big talking point coming into this offseason. But right now you have Saquon, you have Isaiah Hodgins, you have Paris Campbell, you have Darius Slayton, you have Darren Waller, you have now Jalen Hyatt, you have Wan'Dale Robinson, you have Sterling Shepard, Daniel Bellinger. It seems like the Giants have figured this out in terms of getting weapons. Now, they don't have an elite wide receiver 1, but as the saying goes, they don't grow on trees, and they mostly do cost a lot. Like, I think, you know, DeAndre Hopkins' contract, it's pretty up there. So for the Giants to even get him, it's not only going to take like a, you know, 2nd or 3rd round pick. It was also going to take over $20 million probably in your cap space. I forget what he makes, but it's definitely not cheap. So, you know, the Giants did build their wide receiver room in a type of way where it's like, yeah, we don't have a stud. I think Darren Waller is their best guy in terms of talent, but they don't have a stud wide receiver 1. But a lot of guys who are really good. I think last year Hodgins showed us like he's a very good wide receiver too. I think, you know, Paris Campbell, based on last year with the Colts, showed us that, yeah, if he's healthy, he's a very good wide receiver. He's reliable. Darius Slayton for the past few years has shown us, you know, he's reliable. He's good in his role. You know, Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson still have to prove that they are going to be good in the NFL, but from what we saw from Wan'Dale last year up until he got hurt, he was trending in the right direction. And of course, Sterling Shepard, I don't know what to expect from him, but we'll find out. But anyway, for Jalen Hyatt, he is a guy who once again fixes their problems with the lack of big plays in the passing game. He pretty much ran from the slot last year for Tennessee and basically just burned slot corners. And, you know, it's one of those things where it's tough to project him to the next level because the things he was doing at Tennessee, you know, it's going to be tough to get away with that in the NFL every single time. I feel like a lot of times with Jalen Hyatt, he was just such a better athlete and so much faster than the guy in front of him that he would just get by him. And Hendon Hooker, who throws a very beautiful deep ball, would just find him for easy 60, 70-yard touchdowns. Of course, in the NFL, it's not going to be as easy. So Jalen Hyatt does have to develop more of a better route tree and just know how to run different routes. But at least we know this guy can be a burner and can take the top off at defense and will keep safeties honest and have to keep their eyes on him. Joe Schoen did say that his goal coming into this offseason was to emphasize speed. And once again, we just talked about like Darren Waller at tight end is very fast. Paris Campbell, of course, Wan'Dale Robinson when he comes back. And now you have Jalen Hyatt. Like that is how you emphasize speed right there and get yourself some better athletes at the skill positions. Of course, Saquon Barkley, lots of speed. So far, I mean, no news on Saquon yet, by the way. He has not signed the tag yet, which it might be a bit of a concern, but still no news about him. But for now, he's the Giants running back. Speaking of running backs, there's a guy left I really liked. Dwayne McBride out of UAB. I liked him, so I know he's not much of a pass catcher, but I think he'd be a good fit for this team. We'll see what happens anyway. But for Jalen Hyatt, as I said, just a vertical threat. Probably has to work on some other things, but I would say he's probably one of the top 7-8 wide receivers in this class. They could have went in other directions. I know there were guys on the board. I think like A.T. Perry and maybe like Michael Wilson were out there. Bigger guys, and Michael Wilson is really good when he's healthy, but he's just never healthy, unfortunately. A.T. Perry had more questions to his game, but I think at one point he was supposed to be like probably like close to a first-round pick, but A.T. Perry kind of took a step back last year, I think. So anyway, for what the Giants like to do, Jalen Hyatt makes sense. We know by now the Giants wide receivers, like they have a type. They have a type of wide receiver they like. The small guys that get open, that are fast, make guys miss. Jalen Hyatt's that guy. Like, a Quentin Johnston, I thought never had a chance with the Giants because that's just not their guy. They don't go after guys that, have that type of physicality and that size. Like they just don't do it. I don't know. I mean, you can agree with it, disagree with it. I know we've had great times with Plaxico Burress and even Hakeem Nicks was like 6'1", but the Giants just are not going for that type of guy. So that's just, it is what it is. But anyway, for Hyatt, he was made a full-time starter in 2022. Put up some really good numbers. 67 catches, 1,267 yards, 15 touchdowns. His average per catch was 18.9 yards per reception. That's insane. So as I said, like that's just, the guy is a big play threat waiting to happen. But 15 touchdowns is very impressive. Now he did have a third of that production in one game, and you're probably thinking, oh, it's probably against some shit team, right? He did this against Alabama. He had a 6-catch, 207 yards, 5-touchdown game versus Alabama last year, which is like, I don't know how you do that, but I'll go back and watch that game because it just does not make sense to me. Even his combine was pretty impressive. He had a 40-inch vertical, which is really good, 11.3 broad, which is very good. 40-yard dash was 4.4, which I think, or 4.40 to be specific. But I think people were kind of disappointed with that 40 time, which when you run a 4.4 flat, most times it's very good. Like that's going to be celebrated. But I think with Jalen Hyatt, people were kind of disappointed, which does show the type of speed he has on tape. But in terms of like speed and like the ball skills, tracking the ball, he's very good at that stuff. He does need help in other areas like route running and maybe playing with physicality, breaking press, but I think he can get by that stuff, hopefully. He is just 176 pounds. That was his weight at the combine. I think I saw that he wants to get heavier, or did say he's already heavier or something like that. I think he wants to get up to like somewhere close to 190. I could be wrong, but I think I saw that somewhere on Twitter. So yeah, exciting pick. The Giants now have a lot of guys in the wide receiver room, and if there are injuries, they have guys behind them. If a guy like Paris Campbell, his injury history comes back to bite him, hey, you still have like 2 or 3 other guys that can take that spot. And even Jamison Crowder, who I forgot to mention, still out there, who's, not even 30 yet. He's a pretty solid slot receiver throughout his career. So anyway, yeah, the Giants have a lot of guys. PFF compared him to Johnny Knox. That's pretty interesting. Johnny Knox was a very good player up until his injury. He kind of got his injury, his career cut short due to, I think, a neck injury. It might have been a neck injury. I don't know. But he was really a fun punt returner for a bit, made some big plays, so I kind of see it myself. But yeah, hopefully Jalen Hyatt works out. I don't think he's as, like, safe, quote-unquote, as Michael Schmitz, but you add him to a room of a bunch of guys who somebody has to step up. I mean, of course, Darren Waller should be the guy if he's healthy, but in terms of the wide receivers, like, which guy steps up as the most reliable? Who gets the quote-unquote wide receiver 1 label? Is it Hodgins? Is it Paris? Is it Hyatt? Is it Wandale? Is it Darius Slayton? Like, who is going to be the wide receiver 1 next year? So I don't think it'll be Hyatt. I think he'll be more of a guy who, makes probably a handful of big plays for the Giants next year, hopefully more. It may take him a couple years to really settle in and be like hopefully close to a wide receiver 1. But I think for next year, yeah, it might be like a Darius Slayton still or an Isaiah Hodgins type guy. We'll find out. But for Jalen Hyatt, I just hope he learns the things he has to learn, like different routes and breaking press and all that, gets a bit heavier. Once that happens, he should be very good. So hopefully that's the case. But we saw basically 1 year of him being a full-time starter, and that was last year. And I just read off his stats. He was very impressive. I'm going to look at his snap counts the past few years. He played 252 snaps in 2020, 321 in 2021, and then played 733 last year. So out of his 733 snaps last year, 624 were in the slot. So the guy was pretty much exclusively a slot receiver. But once again, basically 19 yards per catch is pretty insane. So the Giants get him in the 3rd round, pick number 73. They had 89, 73. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Hopefully Jalen Hyatt works out. But yeah, we're going to let day 3 finish out here. That's my reaction to the first 2 days of the draft. So once day 3 happens, we'll go over those picks. I think the Giants have like 4 picks left. I know someone tweeted this out before. It's so hard because I woke up late today. I'm kind of a bum on the weekends. Like I wake up at like 1 or 2. But anyway, I saw a tweet of how many picks the Giants have left, and I think it might have been Jordan Ronan. Michael Schmitz, by the way, is number 61. He wore 60 in college. The quote was, "It's one number better than 60, I guess," and that's why he picked 61. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think 60's retired by the Giants, right? No. I'm looking right now. No. Yeah, so I don't know why he didn't stick with 60. Does someone have 60 now? I don't know. That's kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, he takes 61. So here we go. The Giants pick 172, 209, 243, and 254. 4 more picks today. They're at 167 right now. So the Giants pick in round 5 is coming up pretty soon. But yeah, once again, we'll have the final reaction to the final 4 picks. Maybe it'll be 3 if they trade or something. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the first half of this video, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. All right, we're back to pretty much go over the entire draft. Day 3's over. The draft is over. So round 5, the Giants took Eric Gray, running back out of Oklahoma. Round 6, they took Trey Hawkins, the third cornerback out of Old Dominion. Round 7, their first round 7 pick, 243, was Jordan Riley, defensive tackle out of Oregon. And their last pick, 254 overall, was Javarius Owens out of Houston, a safety. So we'll go over those guys. I didn't watch the last 3 guys. I mean, I tried to at least. There's not the best highlights out there. I saw a little bit of them, but we'll read some of what, people who've watched them have said and things like that, how they fit into the Giants and all that. But hope you guys enjoy the second half, and let's get into it. So the 5th rounder, Eric Gray, the running back. The Giants, of course, could have used the running back. Of course, they have Matt Breida behind Saquon, but as I said before, there's not 100% guarantee Saquon's back. I would think he is, but it's not 100% guaranteed, so we'll find out how it plays out. I saw a Jordan Ronan tweet how they're still working on a Saquon extension. I don't know if that will happen, but still, at least they are working on it. So what I saw from him, he's a good receiver, sure-handed. Lateral movement skills are pretty good. A guy who can juke anybody, it feels like. The problem is he's not very explosive. So he has the elusiveness, but not the explosiveness. That's kind of the problem here and probably why he didn't go so high. He's also like 24, I think, already, or maybe 23, 24. Obviously, when you're drafting a running back, you want him to be 21. You want to get the most years possible out of him. That could be another reason Eric Gray was not looked at too highly and why he's a 5th-round pick. So yeah, the breakaway speed was not there, but he had really good vision and footwork. That's very important, of course, finding the right hole. And he's a well-rounded running back, but just never going to be elite. I can't see him being like a top 15 running back in football ever, but he could be a low-end starter one day. He's a good backup, so it's a fine pick. He's had a pretty productive career. Even this past year in 2022, he had 1,366 yards, 11 touchdowns, 6.4 per carry for Oklahoma. In the receiving game, he was still pretty good. 33 catches, 229 yards. It's very good for a receiving back, especially in college. So, yeah, there could be a role for him. I don't know if he'll beat out Matt Breida right away, but I would not be shocked if that were the case. Here's another blurb about Gray that I saw from some draft expert, I don't know. But Gray is an efficient one-cut runner who sticks his foot in the ground and gets north to south as soon as he gets a seam. He has good contact balance and runs hard. As a receiver, he's an effective route runner and reliable check down. Gray needs to get stronger, but he's willing to step up in pass pro. So for a 5th-round pick, yeah, it's not bad. He might contribute in year 1. I would not be surprised once again. I don't know what he does on special teams. I hope he can make some tackles on special teams. Usually guys that go in rounds 5 to 7 can play special teams, so we'll see what type of contribution he has there, but even if not, he might be a good running back for this team, so doesn't seem like a bad pick. The Giants, with their lone round 6 pick, took Trey Hawkins, a cornerback out of Old Dominion. He's listed at 6'3", 195 on ESPN, but I don't think that's correct. I know Jordan Ronan said he's 6'1", 188 based on his pro day, so I'll go with that, 6'1", 188. I remember the Giants took another Old Dominion guy a few years back, O'Shane Ximines, a guy that I was very much into at that time. So it's funny, the guys that I really loved in the mid to late rounds for the Giants, they never worked out. Guys like, O'Shane Ximines, guys like Darnay Holmes, I was a big fan of. TJ Brunson, just never worked out. Anyway, so the ESPN write-up was Hawkins was a 2-year starter at Old Dominion. where he picked off 2 passes last year. He's tall and long with good top-end speed and quickness. Hawkins is tough and tends to wrap up. So some good things said here. I mean, good size, of course. He has speed. Ran a 4.4, I believe. And he was productive the past couple years. Even his stats last year, 12 games. He had 44 solo tackles, 57 total. 1 tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended, 3 fumbles recovered, and 2 forced fumbles. So that's pretty impressive there for a cornerback. The Giants could use cornerback depth. I know they took, obviously, Deonte Banks in round 1, but the Giants' cornerback room is nothing spectacular. You have Cordell Flotz, who is also very skinny, very small. Aaron Robinson's coming off a pretty big injury, so I don't know if he'll get back to what he's supposed to be. But you have other guys in the secondary who, aren't too reliable. Bobby McCain just came over, a veteran free agent. You have Jason Pinnock, Dane Belton. So, yeah, I don't blame them. Even Terrell Burgess, who I like a lot. I liked him a lot coming out of college. I forget where he went. I think he went to the Rams, but Terrell Burgess is here now. I would like to see him get a shot. I know I'm kind of going off topic now, but I would like to see Burgess get a shot. Anyway, and they have the former Lions guy, Amani Oruwariye, I think it's how you pronounce it, something like that. Oruwariye. I think Oruwariye is better. So they have a few corners, but no one too reliable outside of Adoree Jackson, and I think Deonte Banks deserves to be in that conversation as well, but he is a rookie. But as I said, unfortunately, not too many highlights out there about him, so I didn't get to watch much of him, but just based on what people are saying, seems like a fine pick for round 6. You're not expecting too much here, just a special teams guy who can provide depth, and I like having corner depth, I like having edge depth, positions like that. I do like having a good number of guys that if a couple go down, like last year, Adoree Jackson went down, the Giants were kind of screwed and just throwing crap at the wall. So, at least have people behind them that can step up and play if they need to. Their first 7th rounder was Jordan Riley, defensive tackle out of Oregon, 6'5", 325. Listed as a primary run stopper. As I said in a previous video, that the Giants can use another defensive tackle to stop the run. I know they signed Nacho from the Buccaneers, and of course they have Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. But I think the guy they drafted last year, DJ Davidson, I'm pretty sure he tore his ACL, right? So he's probably out for most of next year. So bring in Jordan Riley and see what he can do. He's another guy who can hopefully play some special teams, maybe block a kick next year, 6'5". You can try and do that, of course. But last season, he played in all 13 games for Oregon, had 1.5 tackles for loss, 21 tackles total, and half a sack. So not the biggest production, but he has NFL size. Hopefully he comes in there and, can at least be a decent run stopper in the NFL. And their last pick was, I want to say Javarius Owens. It's Gervarius. I mean, usually Javarius is with a J, but I would say, I don't think Gavarius is a name. I could be wrong, but I think Javarius Owens is how you pronounce it. Safety out of Houston. The Giants never officially had a Julian Love replacement, and I don't think a 7th-round rookie will do that, but he could help. I saw some of his highlights. He had some out there. He looked pretty good for the most part. Here was Jordan Ronon's right up on him. Another depth addition for the secondary who fits the smart, tough, and dependable requirements of Coach Brian Daboll. Owens was a team captain at Houston where he started 12 games at free safety and finished 2nd on the team with 74 tackles and 8 pass breakups. So Houston is a pretty good school. Of course, we see really good prospects from there just about every year. So, yeah, I don't mind it. He seems to have a lot of experience. He had 4 career interceptions. He's had over 200 career tackles there. He's had 7.5 tackles for loss in his career, 2 forced fumbles. So another guy who hopefully can come in and, make plays if needed. So overall, here was how the 2023 draft went for the Giants. Deonte Banks was the 1st-round pick. In round 2, they took John Michael Schmitz, the center. Round 3, they traded up for Jalen Hyatt, the wide receiver. Round 5, Eric Gray, the running back. Round 6 was Trey Hawkins, the 3rd, out of Old Dominion. The first round 7 pick, Jordan Riley. And the last pick of the draft, Javarius Owens, the safety out of Houston. So, overall, I don't know much about the last 3 guys they took, but I would say for the first 4 picks they've had, it was a very good draft. I think the first 3 picks were as good as it can get. And the funny part is, I said this after the John Michael Schmitz pick, is you had 2 guys who were projected to go in the 1st round for the Giants at times. And even Jalen Hyatt, probably in some mock drafts, was probably mocked to the Giants. So to see 3 potential players who were mocked in the 1st round to go to the Giants in the first 3 rounds is pretty awesome. So I would say, I know drafts are not one on paper. You have to go out there and put out the results, but still, I think based on paper and what we've seen so far in this draft for the Giants, I mean, it was a really good start and a really good foundation. They added some good depth in the later rounds. They added a couple guys in the secondary, a run stopper, defensive tackle. So, even some Saquon Barkley depth and Eric Gray. So, yeah, I think it was a good draft. I was pretty satisfied for the most part. It was a weird draft, of course, because we don't pick in the 20s very often. So, for that to happen was pretty interesting. So, I think they had a very good draft. It's probably somewhere in the A range, whether it's A minus, A, you can say A plus. I wouldn't argue it too much. But yeah, so good draft in 2023. I'm sure we'll see some undrafted free agents. I have already seen a few come through my phone. Don't know who they are, but if you want like a reaction to that, I might go over that in a different video. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. It might be a long video by the end of it, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll talk to you guys next time.